All right, so let's start with a big story that we're tracking on WION this hour, where Wikileaks co-founder Julian Assange has been arrested by the British police. The arrest came after the police was in fact invited into the Ecuadorian embassy, where he's been holed up since 2012 rather. Now, the British police have said that Assange was arrested after the Ecuadorian government withdrew the asylum that had been granted to the Wikileaks co-founder. Ecuador's ambassador to the United Kingdom had stated that his 7-year asylum was terminated because of repeated violations of his obligations.
The reason why Ecuador has terminated the asylum is because of the repeated breakage on the part of Mr. Assange of his obligations under the asylum treaty norms. During the time that Mr. Assange has remained in the embassy, for almost 7 years, we have respected every single right he has. Let me just say that the long years that he has been in the embassy under the protection of the government of Ecuador is a very clear indication that Ecuador is committed to support and to guarantee the right of asylum to a person to whom Ecuador have granted asylum. At the same time, when the decision is to revocate the asylum, then Mr. Assange have to leave the embassy, which he did this morning, and he's under now the British jurisdiction.
All right, so this is the reason that's been given by Ecuador as to why the asylum that had been granted to Julian Assange, the man that you see on your screens there being dragged out of the Ecuadorian embassy, had in fact been withdrawn. Now, Ecuador has also suspended Julian Assange's citizenship and has accused him and members of WikiLeaks group of trying to destabilize its government. Now, WikiLeaks has called for the withdrawal of asylum as a violation of international law. The former US spy agency contractor Edward Snowden in fact called the arrest a dark moment for press freedom and said that this contravened a call by the United Nations to allow him to walk free. Now, Julian Assange appeared at a London court and claimed that he was not guilty of failing to surrender to the court in 2012, but his lawyer could not establish the claim with evidence. Now, minutes later, the judge convicted him of having skipped bail. He'll be sentenced at a later date when he will face a maximum sentence of about 12 months in prison for the offence. In more trouble for the WikiLeaks co-founder, the United States has also charged him of a hacking conspiracy in trying to access what the United States government describes as classified US government computer systems and documents. The US Justice Department has said that Julian Assange faces a maximum penalty of 5 years in prison on the American charges. In fact, Julian Assange has been arrested on a US extradition warrant. The British police have said that Assange was arrested on behalf of the United States authorities. And Julian Assange's lawyer, Jennifer Robinson, has said that the arrest sets an extremely dangerous precedent for media which intends to question the government.
Since 2010, we've warned that Julian Assange would face prosecution and extradition to the United States for his publishing activities with WikiLeaks. Unfortunately, today we've been proven right. Mr. Assange was arrested this morning at about 10 o'clock at the Ecuadorian embassy after the ambassador formally notified him that his asylum would be revoked, and he was arrested by British police. We've today received a warrant and a provisional extradition request from the United States alleging that he has conspired with Chelsea Manning in relation to the materials that were published by WikiLeaks in 2010. This sets a dangerous precedent for all media organisations and journalists in Europe and elsewhere around the world. This precedent means that any journalist can be extradited for prosecution in the United States for having published truthful information about the United States. I've just been with Mr. Assange in the police cells. He wants to thank all of his supporters for their ongoing support, and he said, "I told you so."
Meanwhile, British Prime Minister Theresa May has welcomed Julian Assange's arrest, saying that no one is above the law.
I am sure that the whole House will welcome the news this morning that the Metropolitan Police have arrested Julian Assange. arrested for breach of bail after nearly 7 years in the Ecuadorian embassy. He has also been arrested in relation to an extradition request from the United States authorities. This is now a legal matter before the courts. My right honourable friend, the Home Secretary, will make a statement on this later, but I would like to thank the Metropolitan Police for carrying out their duties with great professionalism and to welcome the cooperation of the Ecuadorian government in bringing this matter to a resolution. Mr. Speaker, this goes to show that in the United Kingdom no one is above the law.
Julian Assange took refuge in Ecuador's London embassy in 2012 to avoid being extradited to Sweden. At the time, the Swedish authorities wanted to question him as a part of a sexual assault investigation. And that probe was later dropped, but Assange fears that being extradited to the United States, where Wikileaks is presently being investigated. Assange also fell out with his hosts after Ecuador accused him of leaking information about President Lenin Moreno's personal life. The Moreno has asked Britain to guarantee that Assange will not be extradited to a country where he could face torture or the death penalty.
Solicité a Gran Bretaña la garantía de que el señor Assange no sería entregado en extradición a un país en el que pueda sufrir torturas o pena de muerte. El gobierno británico lo ha confirmado por escrito, en cumplimiento de sus propias normas.
Remember, Julian Assange, the young man that you see on your screens, came into the spotlight after exposing the alleged abuse of power by modern states and for championing free speech. While some regard him as a hero, others feel that he is a dangerous rebel who has undermined the security of the United States by leaking the documents that he leaked.